I thought I would make another one of these because, well, first of all, when I started this mod way back in the early July 2nd, I think I started this, my knowledge about the creation kit it was very scattered and not very, it just wasn't that good. And the more I've been updating this mod and the more I've been, testing things out, the more I realized that it just the way the original tutorial went was very I said a lot of stuff in there that could have been problematic, and I just don't want that in the new tutorial because it's just not. I just don't think it should be in there. I think there's stuff that I was doing that was pretty lazy, and I didn't really know any better, but now I do. So I'm gonna make a new tutorial, and this is it. So first of all, I'm using the old creation kit with creation kit fixes. The reason why I'm doing that is because it works. I tried the new one, I wasn't able to get it working, so I just stick with this one. It doesn't really matter. It works. It does what I want it to. So first of all, I'm going to show my little setup here. So the way I do this is, so I have all these profiles here for all my different games. Each letter is a different character. And I do this in order to, if I'm say using 1.2.4 and the next version is 1.2.5, I'll enable this, it'll overwrite it, and then I will be able to edit this, test it out in the game, and then go back and disable this. And this is where I keep everything, and then if I have a folder open here, and I go down to this, which is my big folder, I go in here, overwrite, and then I can just copy it over and see. This is how I maintain, I don't, this, other people might do it a different way, but I like to make a copy every time I change something in case something goes wrong or something is just, I don't like it, then I can just revert back. I can just drag this back into here, and then that will overwrite the file that I just created. And this is just an example, so these aren't going to be perfect, but usually how I start these is I do 1.2.7, and then I will copy everything into here. I will delete this and clear out the changelog, and then I can start. Now, because I'm going to be working with I have a test profile here that I use for, I'm actually going to use this one. This test profile I use, it's a level 80 character that's not, it doesn't have any story progression on it, it's just a test profile, it's not anything that I care about, so, I can fuck around with the save, just mess it up if I want to, and it doesn't really matter, so I'm working on 1.2.7 next, so I'm going to create a new empty mod. Now, you don't have to do any of this, but, this is I'm just showing how I do it. So this is 1.2.7. I'm going to open this up, and then I'm going to open up 1.2.6. It gets really convoluted after a certain point, but, so here we go. So here's 1.2.7, and I'm going to paste everything there, and then I'm going to disable these, and this right here, Cataclysm Textures, that is, so, okay, so if you're going to be doing, so I'm glad I left this in, because this is something kind of important. So if you're working on a mod, for instance, the Final Cataclysm, it uses its own textures. You're going to want to go into archives. You're going to want to find, luckily I have everything sorted here, but you're going to want to find, say, here it is, Final Cataclysm. You're going to want to extract the BSA and the textures into an empty mod. I created this empty mod. It's literally just textures, whatever this is, because when you go into Creation Kit, there's a chance that this stuff will not show up like the textures and stuff, so everything will just look really weird. So you're gonna wanna get those in there. Into if you're working on a mod, like if you're adding stuff to, for instance, like the Gray Cowl of Nocturnal, people requested that several times. The only reason why I haven't done it is because I actually don't know anything about it, which means I don't know where the best place where the markers go. Same goes with like Skyrim Sewers or Dark End. I did Dark End because I was vaguely familiar with it, and I know that there's no quests associated with it, so I was not afraid of putting markers where it might screw up a quest if you go somewhere where you're not supposed to go. That's the only reason why I did Dark End, because I knew that there was no quest associated with it, and I was vaguely familiar with it. So, Dark End didn't actually need one of these, either because it wasn't packed, the textures and meshes and stuff, or because it used vanilla assets. So this is just in case it uses custom assets. Now, this is disabled. I'm going to go over here and let me refresh this and then enable this 1.2.7. So this has everything in there. This is what I'm going to be working with. This is the latest version of everything. I just published this. I published it last night, so this is everything. I want to be working on this one rather than 1.2.6. So that's where I'm going to be dragging these files into this over right here after I finish with them. It's like this, like that, and then, you know, if I want to, I can just drag it back in there. So creation kit. So let me start up the creation kit and show what I did recently, which is I may include this. I might include this, but I'm not sure. I might. So this is something, again, optionally you can do. Ignore this flashing. It's not really important. It's just it's not important. So let me load in. So I need these four because this mod, AIO, requires Skyrim Update, Dawnguard, and Dragonborn, and this. So this is a master, and then this is the active file. And then load into the game. Or not the game, but the render window here. It'll stop flashing once it loads in, though. So I'm going to first show off the room. Now, the way I have it set up is so it is easier for me. So I'm gonna go into here. So show active cells. This is everything that I'm working on here. I'm gonna put this down here so it doesn't flash. This is everything that I've done interior wise. These are world spaces. So in Xedit they'll show up as world space, not interiors. Like Alftan world, I have some markers here. Alftan is a bit weird because two of the cells are interiors, and then one is a world space. For some reason, I don't really know why, but it just is. So right now I don't have EVG. Right now I don't have this. As soon as I touch something in here, it'll be pushed into the mod that I'm working on, the active file, which that's good if you're working on something, but when you are finished, you're going to want to go into Xedit and get rid of it, either by cleaning the ESP or just manually getting rid of it. It's ITM, identical to master. Normally those aren't a problem, depending on who you ask, but if you actually want to visit the test cell in-game, it will act a little bit funny if you have it as an ITM. So you're going to want to remove it so that you can actually visit that cell in the game if you want to. Editor ID is what the cell name is called. Usually something that I use is, let me just, cell. So this is what I use if I want to find something. So off 10. So This is the COC code, which means when you go into game, you press COC, you do this, COC, and then I would copy this and paste it. I use a special mod that lets you copy and paste in console, so I'm able to do that, but you just do that and then press enter, and then it'll take you into the cell that you want, and that's really useful for testing. That's what I do when I test. So these are exteriors. This is the glacial ruins. I'm not really sure which one of these gets you to the world space. It's kind of, it's probably one of these. Actually, it probably is this one. Off-tan world start is probably the world space. You can see world. It'll tell you off-tan world, which is what you just saw in the creation kit. Interiors, and then Tamriel. So it just lays everything out perfectly for you, which is what I really like about it. Now, let me show you the world, the EVG motion course. So when it spawns you in, this right here is the COC marker heading. So this is where I placed it so that it's in this room starting. It usually starts you off in this room, but I didn't like that, so I moved it over here. And I also, what did I do with that? I swapped out all the normal indicators for bright indicators, because when I go to select one of these things, like that, I want everything to be already done. So the I use bright indicators, but they're normally they're just standard indicators. So I did a special edit, and I will include that probably in this link. I'll put it somewhere. Maybe it's an optional file in the FOMOD installer. I'll put it somewhere. But anyways, the way you have to do it though is normally there'd be furniture here, like there and there as well, but you actually have to delete it inside the original EVG animated traversal ESL. The reason why, because if you disable it, it'll actually still show up here and you'll have to hide it. And I wanted to save a lot of time, so I just went in and deleted it, and because it's originally in that, there's no issues of deleting it. The only way there would be an issue was if another mod referenced it as like an ITM, which I explained before, and then it could possibly crash if you visited that cell. But you know, I'm guessing that if you're a modder, you're probably going to be on top of this stuff. So I wouldn't do this if you're not a modder. But you know, so if I just select this, it just selects everything easily like that. If you hold a right-click button and you move your mouse around, it'll move stuff around. If you click on it and drag, it'll move it around like that. And if you hold Z and click and then drag lower and higher, that just moves it around. You are going to want this orange thing down here to be as low as to the ground as possible. If you put it too low, your character will actually clip through the floor, and if you put it too high, which I've done a few times, you'll start in the air. You won't grab the ladder and climb up it. You'll just appear on the ladder, which is it might be, some people might not like that, so you know, yeah. And then this right here, not this, but this, the same square one that's on the bottom, you're going to want to put that on the surface where you want to be deposited. It's okay if it's a little higher than the surface. Like, it's okay if it's, if it's around here where my mouse is right now, then I think it's fine. But if it's too low, then no, because then you'll actually drop from the top. So it'll deposit you right there, and then it'll drop you down here. So it gets a little funny after a while, so just do what you can. I really only use a few of these markers. I use the vault point, which these are my own names. I use vault, duck, climb, ladder, squeeze, and then roll over here. So that's why I deleted the furniture around them, so they're easier to select. And I also use something, let me find it. Oh, it's over here. Okay. So this is my info file. This is just, they're basically just things that you can put down. Something that I use a lot frequently is this, shaft beam. So if you paste, so this is an editor ID, so any one of these objects will, every object in the game, or most objects, have an editor ID. So if you just drop that in here, and then you drag this over, it'll actually put the item here. And if you wanna, if you just, like, I'm just moving it around like that, but if you wanna like make it say vertical, you press W, and then you can tweak some of these and make them like that. And then if you, yeah, so there's quite a lot you can do, pressing Z, pressing W, using the right click button and stuff like that. You can also, if you want to select multiple things at once but you don't want to click and drag, you can click on something and you could hold control and click another, and then it'll all move at the same time. So yeah, that's how I move a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna go through one of these and show how to place a, I'm just going to use Pine Watch as an example, because Pine Watch is it's a very useful, well, it's very, what am I saying? Is that the right place? It isn't. Okay, this needs to go back in there. Okay, cool. So I'm going to select this, and then I'm going to, you can, okay, first, before I do that, there's several things you can do once you select something. If you just want to copy it, you can copy it and then paste it somewhere else, but you can also duplicate something. If you duplicate it and then drag it outwards, it'll actually create a copy of this, which should show up. Whatever you're selecting should show up here, so if you are unsure, you can just click and then it'll show you what you're selecting. So that, and that you selected that one, so it should show up here what you're selecting. You can also search for stuff, like search for indicator, and it will show you all the indicators, and you can just select all of them at once, which is pretty useful. But you can also just straight up copy something. So I'm gonna ledge markers, ledge, and no, not that one, this one. Okay, so I'm gonna select and copy, and all these changes that I've done here, it doesn't really matter because you can save this, or you could just, exit, and then restart it. But I don't see a reason to do that, because these will show up in block 5 subblock 2 in Xedit. So you go to Xedit, you open up the active file that you're editing, you go into cells, you go to block 5 and then subblock 2, and then it'll be right there. And then you can just delete this cell. You can delete this cell from the motion you can delete the motion course, because the motion course exists in the original ESL, so you don't actually need that. It'll just, and then that'll revert all the changes you've done here. So everything that I put here, it'll go back to normal once you've opened it up in the game, or you've opened it up in Creation Kit for a second time. So I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to go to a location. So Pine Watch, show active cells. I already touched Pine Watch, so I'm going to go here. Okay, so Pine Watch. So let me load it up, and then we will look at where to place one of these things. So I press Shift and then look around like this. You hold Shift and you look around, and then you can press and hold on the scroll button to move around like that. Sometimes it'll get a little weird, and it might shift the entire world around like that, and then the only way to clear it is usually to click on something and then press 1 twice to hide it, and then that'll reset the camera. The camera is really weird. It can get a little weird sometimes. If you want to make a cell brighter or lower, you press A. So for instance, if you're in a really dark cell and you just want it to be brighter, you just press A, and then it'll do that. So right now it's kind of being, the camera's being a little weird because I just want to get over there, but it's like, it's not. See, this is what happens sometimes, and then I have to scroll. I use the scroll bar, and then I move myself around with the scroll wheel, and then I try to move the camera, and then if I want it to just reset, either that or I will paste in whatever I have in the clipboard. So the camera just went back to normal, and that's basically how I do that. Now, where is this in Pine Wash? I think this is... Okay, now, if this is how I want it to be... Okay, it isn't. Sometimes these fences will actually be separate from the rail here, but this one isn't in this case. If you want to get rid of something that's in the way, usually just mist, like, or dust, like that, FX, that'll be in the way if you want to select something, so you just double tap one, and it'll get rid of it. It won't delete it or disable it, but it'll hide it temporarily, and then it will show up in the thing here, and you can just go into Xedit and delete it, because it'll either be ITM or you might have actually moved it around a little bit, and then that might conflict with something if you're using like a lighting mod or something like that, but I don't use lighting mods, so I don't really know anything about that, but I'm going to select this again, and I'm going to move it around just a little bit, and say if you really just wanted this here, and you didn't care about this rope here, which I do, because I find it kind of unimmersive to clip through a rope, especially if there's collisions on this rope. I'm not sure if there's collisions on it or not, but see how I placed this? I placed it so it was right up against there, and that's how. See, this lower down here, when you're standing here as a player, this should be high enough, because well, depends on it. It's really just your opinion if you think that's too high or too low or whatever, and if you want to add something, you can, like maybe you want to add I usually use a crate, so I'm going to show you how to put a crate down and then adjust the size. So there's the crate. I actually don't want this, so I'm gonna edit it. I'm going to press initially disabled, and then I'm going to press 1 and hide it. Now, it's still there, it's just disabled, and the reason why you want it disabled instead of delete stuff is because if another mod references the deleted file, it could cause a crash. So I'm also going to get rid of this because it's also in the way. So initially disabled, and then hide it like that. So now here's your box. I'm going to place the box down, and so it's not in the air, and then I'm going to press edit. You want to scale. I'm going to make this 1.7 size. Now it's a little bit bigger. See, now I want to line it up perfectly where it's not lined up with this, because if you think about it, so this is what your characters are going to be clicking on, right? Now if you're using a mod like what is it, Better Third Person Select, it should be easier to select it. So when you're standing on this, you're going to be right in front of it. So that's why you don't want it like right underneath, because then you're going to have to look towards the sky. But I will put this right here, and this is again in my way, so I'm going to disable it. Cool. So now it's disabled, and this is no, it's in its right place. So when I go into the game and I test that, so I'm gonna, just for a reference here, I'm gonna save it, exit. I'm gonna go into Mod Organizer 2. I'm gonna select SSE Edit, launch it, and I'm still editing the 1.2.7, so all my original files are perfectly safe. There's nothing, I have nothing to fear, basically, and that's the safety net that you want because when you're working with this stuff, you want a safety net. You want to ensure that your files are safe. See, here you got errors here. Now, this is what happens if you're editing a ESL, and what you have to do is kind of convolute it, but, you know, it's... now, I actually don't know where the hell PineWatch is, so I'm going to hold Alt and double-click this, and this will essentially pull up everything here. So let me find PineWatch. PineWatch Bandit Sanctuary. That's not it. Oh, I just need the regular PineWatch. I've edited so many locations now, it's just insane. But okay, so here's the EVG motion course. So you're gonna wanna right click there so you can see what it just moved this stuff, so it's not really, you know, you just want to press this, remove, yes, remove it, and then that will remove the ITM that's editing that. So here's PineWatch. So this is, again, see, this is what I edited. It doesn't really do anything, it just adds this location reference here, and then these are what I initially disabled, and this is the climb point. Wait, that's golden. No. These are the climb points. So you got here, we got the indicators bright, we got the ledge, we got the climb up. There's 2? Oh, right. Of course there's 2, because okay, never mind. So this is here, this is in, alright, okay, cool. So I'm gonna actually take off this ESL here, then I'm gonna exit, and the reason why I do that is because it won't let you compact the form IDs if it's already ESL. You have to take it off and then put it back on, which is kind of convoluted, but you know, it's whatever. So I'm gonna load it back up. Then I'm gonna compact form IDs for ESL because it doesn't show any errors here because this isn't ESL, but if this was ESL, it could cause crashes and other issues in your game. Well, I can actually give you an example as to what issue it could cause. Something that I've had happen is if I don't compact the form IDs for ESL and I leave it as an ESL, this goes away if you take off the ESL flag. But if it's on and you don't compact form IDs, you can actually have the wrong animation play. So for a ladder, I've had it send me into the floor before because it'll just show an animation for climbing off the ladder and then it'll just put you into the ground. So you don't want that at all. So you just compact form IDs, yes, it'll show you what you did. One record has been updated, and then you can double click this ESL and then save, and that'll remove all the issues with it. If you wanna clean it, you can do that as well. So SSE quick auto clean, you just search up EVG AIO, click that, and then it'll run through it and clean it up. That's what I do usually at the end of my testing. So I don't do it in the midst of testing because it would just get convoluted. At that point, I'd be just, I mean, if I'm adding, like, for instance, my last update was huge. I did like all this stuff. So if I did that every single time, it would have cost me a lot of time. So I didn't do any of that. But, you know, it's your choice, but that's how I do it. So I'm going to load up the game now. This is my test profile, so I'm going to go to here, PineWatch. Here is the cell I want, PineWatch 01, copy that, then go into the game. My game takes a while to load because I have about over 600 mods So there's a lot to load in, but you know, it'll depend on who's playing, but and it should load right into the character. And then once in, I will test the marker. I like to test them before I put them in the mod, because you never know what's going to happen. Sometimes, you know, it's a little off. Okay, it didn't go right into there, so I had to click this. So let me turn on my controller. That's I forget what the mod is called. I think it's start on save. Yeah, start on save. That just puts you right in. Okay, we're in the game. So this is something that I did recently. I added this so you can climb right up there. So I'm gonna do COC and then Control End, and then that'll just put it right in there. You need a special mod for that. You need copy and paste in console, which I don't think it's available for AE. It might just be available for SE, I'm not sure. So let me go down here. If there's enemies here and you want to kill them all, you could just do kill all, enter, and that'll kill all the enemies. So this is where I put the marker. So here is the crate. Here is the jump point. Personally, I think this is a little high, but you can always increase the size of the crate or something. So I'm gonna look up, climb, see the rope. It has collisions like I had assumed, so it looked kind of wonky. I'm gonna do that again. Yeah, so it kind of put you up there, but not really, because there's something in the way. But that is basically how I do things, and I'm not really sure if there's anything else to show. I mean, I'm sure there is. I'll probably have to edit this again and then go back in, but this is one of the new markers that I added into 1.2.6, which is the latest version of this mod. This one is, see, it's seamless. I usually like to have them seamless. I don't like to make them weird. This is my character Ophelia. She is evil vampire. And it doesn't really matter if there's enemies in here, because if you use what do you call it? What is it called? Power of Three's tweaks. If you use Power of Three's tweaks, there's actually something in there now that allows you to use furniture in combat, which I waited so long for that. Like, I thought it would never come, and then it did on August 22nd, which was a really great day, because I just wanted that for so long, and it just finally came, and I was like, wow. Alright, so how I exit the game, I should just do QQQ. So now that, I'm actually gonna, this is 1.2.5, let me close some of these windows here. This is 7, I don't need 2 of these. Okay. So this is what I'm going to be copying everything into. This is, I just tweaked it, so I'm going to copy this into here. So, for instance, if you were editing this, you just copy that into there, and then I go back into Creation Kit, I do some changes, and then this will be a different date, and then I'll be able to see what's the past edit I made, and then if I don't like this, I can just drag this back here, replace it, and then, you know, you see what I'm doing here. So it's a process. there's a lot to it, a lot more than I initially made, but this is my process. For instance, it's kind of become, some of this has become redundant because I don't use the form ID list anymore. I took away the mod MCM menu because basically the way it was is I do so much to it, like all this. So imagine you just do all this, and not only do you have to compact the form IDs, clean the ESP, remove everything that is not necessary, but you also have to add all the indicators to a form ID list, and then you have to recompact everything, and then if you remove something, then you might have to recompact, or you might have a free space, or you might have to, it was just so convoluted after a certain point that the MCM menu just tacked on such a complexity that, you know, I mean, I even screw stuff up in the FOMOD installer sometimes, you know, like there's little bugs in there, or I forget to add something to the location gallery, which I used mass image compressor here. I used this to compress all the images. I just set this to 100 and this to 95, and then that did it. But I'm just rambling now. It's not really anything to do with the tutorial. Is there any other plugins that I use here? I guess ZEdit. I mean, if you want. Okay, so if you want to merge plugins, so I'll actually give an example here. So I did something a while ago where in 1.2.6 I made some changes to FrostFlow Abyss. Now FrostFlow Abyss, there's some kind of weird bug with that where if I place a marker down and then I test it out in game, it'll actually slide me over to the right. Streamable. Let me just pull up the video. So this is the issue that I was having. So it would just slide me over like that, and then it just wouldn't work. See? So that's the issue I was having. So I basically just isolated this because it had the FrostFlow stuff. Now I'm going to go into here. I'm going to drag this here. I'm going to rename this FrostFlow. You shouldn't really rename ESPs unless you have a really good reason to. I'm not sure what could happen, but potentially things could break. So I'm just going to go into Xedit. I'm going to find FrostFlow. So this is it. And say I wanted to merge FrostFlow with the original mod. So AIO, what if I want to merge this with AIO? So I'm going to find FrostFlow Abyss in here. Where is it? Okay, that's subblock 9 of block 2. So block 2, subblock 9. Block 2, subblock 9. Okay. So I'm just gonna delete, move all this, yes, and then move these, and then remove this. So this is literally just the changes that I've made to FrostFlow Abyss. So disabled stuff, added stuff. This is, say if the bug was fixed and I wanted to put FrostFlow back in the game, I would just save this, or no, I can't save it because it's got some problems here, so I'm going to save it now. Okay, cool. So now it's saved, and say I wanted to put it back into, I want to put it back into this, so EVGAT AIO. I want to put this into that. So I would go into ZEdit, which is here. ZEdit is kind of like synthesis, except it has ZEdit. You can't really, ZEdit is worse because it has the 255 limit, so you can't actually use all your plugins with ZEdit. So ZEdit has basically just become ZMerge for me. I just use it for ZMerge. Start session. This is no longer applicable, so I'm going to delete it. And then you want to do create merge. Plugins, I'm going to grab FrostFlow and EVGAT AIO, which I'm actually not sure where that is, so I'm going to check. It is way down here. Okay, so it's after Dungeons Revisited. Okay. Oh dear Lord. Oh, here we go. Okay, so there's EVGAT AIO and there's FrostFlow. So I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna call this EVGAT merge, and then okay, build, and that should push everything together. If I remember correctly, it was okay. So that's been built. I'm gonna save, we'll exit, and then it should be located in my Bethesda local file, which is on my separate SSD for games, under ZEdit, merges, EVGAT merge. You can tell by the date that this is it. I'm gonna put it in overwrite so I can look it over, and then refresh this so it shows up. Go into Xedit, block 2, subblock 9, I think. Anyways, this should be everything. So if I want to come back forms for ESL, yes, that'll push everything in. This should be everything in FrostFlow right there. And then, yeah, so now it's back in here, and I can set this as ESL, save it, and we're done. So that's how I would merge if I wanted to put something back into it. If you create multiple plugins, like I initially started out with a modular version of my mod, and then I after a while, after I got around to like 20, I'm at 89 locations right now. So obviously I couldn't keep the modular version. I mean, it was just too much. So when I was at 20, I was like, okay, I want an AIO version because I'm tired of opening 500 plugins every time I want to edit it, right? So I just merged everything, and that's what you have there, a merge, and then that shows up here, edit it, 357, and it's the same thing. So, you know, that's what you do if you want to. I'm gonna, because this is an example, so I'm just gonna delete everything here. So this is all done, and you know, this is these are all my resources. I mean, you know, and then when I finish doing something, I will go into here, change log, and then I'll add, you know, add it 1 climb point 2 play watch. Cool. Yeah. So that's what I do, and I'm trying to think of any more hotkeys or anything like that for Creation Kit, because there's a few things. Is there anything else in there that I use? I'm not really sure. I thought I explained everything fairly well. Yeah, okay, I'll call it a day. I was pretty energized today, so I was like, you know, I could really make a new tutorial today. I thought it would go really well, so